Mr. President, today I rise to speak about and honor our nation's Vietnam veterans, particularly North Dakota's Vietnam veterans. Since I took office, I've made it a priority to travel throughout North Dakota to meet with my state's veterans. So many wonderful men and women who continue to serve not only their country, but also our state and their communities. All these veterans deserve a place of honor in our society. We are in the midst of a 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. On May 25, 2012, President Obama issued this proclamation calling on the nation to honor Vietnam veterans and to honor particularly those brave service members who gave their lives in service of their country. This special period of honoring our Vietnam veterans runs through 2025. And today I follow up on a commitment I made last year. I want to focus on North Dakota soldiers who lost their lives in Vietnam. In this effort, I have partnered with students from Bismarck High School in researching these soldiers, and I want to thank their instructors, Lori Forty, Sarah Renas, and Allison Wendell, for coordinating this project and sharing their students' research with my office. I think this is a wonderful partnership to explain and to research a war that was long forgotten for many of these young students. Throughout this effort, I want to make sure our nation never forgets the needs of our Vietnam veterans. And I want to make sure our nation continues and further honors them. I have a poster that we've created that will be placed in every one of our offices, both in Washington, D.C. and in my various state offices. And I'm hopeful we'll be able to distribute this poster throughout all the veteran service organizations in North Dakota as we continue this period of remembrance. In North Dakota, we take much pride in our history and devotion to service. When our nation, our state, and our communities call, North Dakotans stand up, no matter what the cost. 198 sons of North Dakota did not make it home from the Vietnam War. 198 sons of North Dakota gave their lives in service to the freedom of this country. These sons, brothers, and fathers have made the ultimate sacrifice, and today I want to individually honor them by talking about the lives of these individuals, some of these individual members. I intend throughout this Congress to come to the floor and remember each one of them individually and remember each one of their sacrifice. And so today I begin with David Ellsburn. He was born June 28, 1949, and he was from the community of Crosby. He served in the Army, 196th Light Infantry Brigade. The date of his death was September 9th, 1969. He was 20 years old. David had a brother, he had a sister, and 3 brothers, one who also served, a brother who also served and was injured in Vietnam. David's family remembers him as a kind, generous person who thought of everyone else first. Fellow soldier Paul Hughes wrote the book, The Light Within, which includes an account of David's death. David's family is thankful to his fellow soldiers and friends for taking care of him. Elroy Byer, born February 29, 1947, grew up in Langdon. He served in the Army, 101st Airborne Division. His date of death was May 5, 1968. He was 21 years old. He had 3 brothers and 1 sister. His mother, Violet, was proud to be a Gold Star mother and was a member of the VFW and American Legion Auxiliary. Elroy played basketball for Langdon High School. In Vietnam, Elroy was injured while firing at opposing forces to help his fellow soldiers return to safety. Despite his injuries, Elroy refused to return to the United States. After healing, he bravely stood his ground in a firefight to help his fellow soldiers but was fatally wounded. Elroy's nephew, Marcus, was inspired by Elroy's bravery and sacrifice, and as a result, joined the military. John Lundeen. John was born February 3rd, 1932. His hometown was Sentinel Butte. He served in the Army Advisory Team 91. The date of his death was April 25th, 1970. He was 38 years old. John was the oldest of 8 children. While stationed in Germany, he met and married Charlotte. When he was killed in action, he left behind Charlotte and 3 children, ages 14, 9, and 4. Before his deployment to Vietnam, the Army taught him the Vietnamese language, and he was posthumously awarded the Silver Star for gallantry in action and the Bronze Star for valor. John's family cherishes the letter the Army gave them describing John's heroism the day he died, when he sacrificed himself by drawing fire away from his fellow soldiers. I want to give special thanks to Bismarck High School students Emily Schmidt, Brittany Hawkinson, Mackenzie Riddle, and Shelby Wittenberg for reaching out to John Lundeen's family and learning this important information about John's life and his extraordinary service. Marvis Briss was born November 6, 1948. He grew up in Binford. He served in the Army, 11th Battalion, 9th Infantry Division. He died May 28, 1969, at the age of 20. Marvis grew up on a farm, and his siblings remember him as a wonderful brother. His family is honored that he was so brave. He earned the Air Medal for meritorious achievement, outstanding degree of professionalism and devotion to duty, and the Army Commendation Medal for heroic actions in keeping with the highest traditions of military service. Marvis was pictured in the 1969 Life magazine article about the 242 American soldiers killed in 7 days in the Vietnam War. Kenyon Ken Bean was born May 25, 1946. He grew up in Williston. He served in the Army, 35th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division. His date of death is May 19, 1967. He was 20 years old. Ken was the oldest of 3. Ken's sister, Cheryl, and brother Lowell remember his wonderful sense of humor and his strong desire to farm. He earned the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and the National Defense Service Medal for heroism in his attempt to move his critically injured platoon leader to safety while under sniper fire. His commanding officer cited Ken's courageous self-sacrifice and the inspiring bravery as reflecting great credit upon himself and the United States Army. Paul Willis was born July 22, 1947. He was from Canada, but he enlisted in Fargo. He served in the Marine Corps, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, 1st Marine Division. He died May 28, 1967. At the time of death was 20 years old. His uncle, a United States Marine, sponsored him so that he, as a Canadian, could enlist in the United States Marine Corps. Paul was proud to volunteer and serve the United States as a Marine so he could fight communism. Paul signed a non-citizen waiver so he could serve in country in Vietnam with his unit. One story that his friends recall is on a hunting trip, Paul was so proud of his service as a U.S. Marine that when he went home for Christmas after basic training, his friends joked that Paul didn't take his uniform off once. David Berdahl was born January 16, 1953. He grew up in Minot. He served in the Army, 101st Airborne Division. His date of death is stated to be January 20th, 1972. He was 19 years old when he went missing. David is the first son born of 13 children. His family remembers him as always helping others. During the Minot flood of 1969, the family moved to safety, but David stayed in town, sandbagging all night long. At age 17, David expressed interest in joining the Army, but his mom asked him to wait. At 18, he joined on his own. In Vietnam, he started as a helicopter mechanic. He offered to go on a helicopter rescue mission, but the helicopter was shot down, causing it to catch fire and costing David his life. Richard Dick Olson. He was born June 8, 1949, grew up in Grand Forks. He was in the Marine Corps, 1st Battalion, 4th Marines. His date of death was April 26, 1968. He went missing at age 18. Richard was survived by his parents, 2 sisters, and a brother. He loved to sing and was in a band for some of his teenage years. His sister Roberta remembers Dick's generosity and talks about how Dick bought groceries for a friend in need and how once Dick literally gave the shirt off his own back so his friend would have a nice shirt to wear the date he enlisted in the Marines. Entering the Marine Corps at age 17, Dick was killed in action less than 1 year later. Merlin Labor. Merlin was born September 5th, 1947. Grew up in Sykeston. He served in the Army, 198th Light Infantry Brigade. At the date of his death, he was May 14th, 1969. He was 21 years old. He was the oldest of 9 kids. He had 4 brothers and 4 sisters. His father served in World War II. 2 of his brothers also served in the military, one in Korea and Vietnam, and the other in the Mideast. Merlin loved cars, and he held the Sykeston High School record in track. He was also featured in the 1969 Life magazine article about the 242 American soldiers who were killed in 7 days of Vietnam. Tom Byer. Tom Byer was born March 10th, 1941. He grew up in Fargo. Air Force, he served in the Air Force 20th Tactical Support Squadron. His date of death is July 30th, 1968. He was 27 years old when he went missing. He was survived by his wife, Karen, and his 2 children, Sandra and Stephen. He was preceded in death by 1 son, John. The family remembers Tom as a wonderful person. He graduated from NDSU and enjoyed his family, flying, playing the piano, hunting, and golf. He was awarded, after his death, he was promoted from captain to major. His remains were recovered and laid to rest in Fargo in 2010. Charles Wendt. Charles was born February 24th, 1947, grew up in Dickinson, served in the Army, 4th Infantry Division. The date of death was June 5th, 1968. He was 21 years old. His father, also named Charles Wendt, served in the Army. Prior to joining the Army at age 20, Charles worked for Vendel Engineering, which is now KLJ, one of the most prominent engineering firms in the state of North Dakota. Douglas Pierce. He was born September 24th, 1952. He was from Illinois, but he was living in Fargo when he enlisted. He served in the Army 1st Cavalry Regiment. His date of death is November 26, 1971. He was 19 years old. His father worked as a VA hospital administrator in several cities, including Fargo. 2 brothers, Vince and Mark, also died in the Vietnam conflict. Doug was a straight A student, an A+ student who wanted to serve his country. He loved horses, and his twin sister, Debbie, fondly remembers the day as children when they attended a Hollywood parade, and Doug ran into the street to pick up and keep the horseshoe that fell off the foot of Roy Rogers' horse, Trigger. Dale Amundsen. Dale was born July 11th, 1948. He's from Findlay. Served in the Army, 1st Infantry Regiment. October 30th, 1968 was his date of death at the age of 20. One of his nephews is named after him. His nephew is named Dale. In high school, he was one of the charter members of the first FFA chapter in Findlay. Private First Class Amundsen died only 2 months after beginning his service in Vietnam. William Baker, June 28, 1949. He was from Mandan. He served in the Marine Corps, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. His date of death is January 12, 1968. He died at the age of 18. William was a third-generation veteran. His grandfather served in the Army in World War I and was awarded the Silver Star. His father served in the Army in World War II. William had 3 brothers, Paul, Jim, and John. William's brothers remember him as a dedicated Marine who gave his life for the cause that he strongly believed in. They cherish his memories and the stories that they keep in their heart today about their brother. Gil Bargman, July 26, 1960 was the date of his birth. He grew up in Hanover. Served in the Army, 4th Battalion, 9th Infantry Regiment. He died June 19, 1968, at the age of 18. Gil had 3 brothers and 2 sisters. He grew up on a dairy farm in the Hanover area. One of his squad leaders credits Gil for saving his life by covering his flank the day Gil died. Gil's niece, Brianna, connected 3 men who served with Gil in Vietnam with Gil's family. 3 of Gil's friends and their wives traveled to Hanover to meet Gil's mother and siblings. I'm struck as I go through these names and as I review all of the people. And I'm struck by sitting in front of children who maybe are just maybe 2 years younger than these brave men who have served our country. And I know that it is impossible to predict what amazing things they would have done had they not sacrificed their life. And so it is so important that we recognize their heroism and that we recognize their sacrifice and that we honor them during this period of recognition of the sacrifices of the Vietnam War. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor and note the absence of the quorum.